I got 10 more things to ask. But
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Oh, great. Welcome back to Talkville, the ultimate Smallville rewatch podcast. We got Ryan Tejas here.
Howdy.
We got Tom Welling here. What else could you possibly want on this glorious day, this Wednesday?
Well, I wanted 2 Talkville episodes just for this one episode. I think Onyx is worth 2 Talkvilles. I'm just saying. There's so much to talk about.
Really?
Yeah.
That's amazing. And look, if you guys get a chance to join our call in our hotline and ask questions, you got to do it ahead of time because these things fill up. Believe me. Leave a question. Make sure you do it for future ones. All that information and more is in the show's description at Talkville Pod, at Talkville Podcast. Write a review. Join Patreon. Support the podcast. TalkvillePodcast.com for amazing merch inside of you online store. Tons of Smallville merch like ship keys and all that stuff. What else are we doing? We're doing a Smallville Con. Go to my Instagram link tree in New Jersey. That's going to be a ton of people. So cons and everything Tom and I are doing, cameos, all that jazz.
The cool thing I think about the New Jersey thing for me is we're really getting so many members of the cast together, and it's if it goes well, we're going to do more.
We'll do more.
It's a good. Yeah.
Tom and I are even considering doing a cruise. We'll get into that some other time. Without further ado, let's get into season 4, episode 17, Onyx. Title Onyx aired April 13, 2005. The wonderful director Terrence O'Hara, we miss you. Writer Stephen S. DeKnight, who I love and is a great guy. He also wrote Run, Spell, Unsafe. Guest star Malcolm Stewart as Dr. Sinclair. When a Luthor Corp meteor rock experiment goes wrong, Lex's deep-seated evil desires take form and start wreaking havoc on his friends, family, and himself. Boy, this was an episode. The episode starts with Lex Luthor getting an update from Dr. Sinclair on the corrections to a kryptonite experiment. Similar to what Clark did in the episode Scare, all that needed to be done was heat up the meteor rocks. But it's got to be perfect. As they proceed with the test via a Dell computer, things go bad. The meteor rock turns to black kryptonite, and Lex gets backblasted by a stream of energy coming from the meteor rock, and the entire room erupts. Lex escorts Dr. Sinclair to safety. As they leave, we see another bald-headed billionaire emerge from the rubble. Clone Lex? Is it true that the production crew referred to good Lex as Alexandra and bad Lex as Lex? I don't remember that.
You don't?
I don't remember that at all.
It would have been the opposite. It would have been Lex and bad Lex.
Yeah.
That would be my guess.
Bad Lex and good Lex.
So I just real quick, and Ryan, you're here for science.
Yeah, we know this,
level at which they heated the kryptonite to get it to the Onyx or the black kryptonite, is that higher than the atmospheric pressure that the meteorite would have had to cross to crash onto Earth?
Huh. Who knows? Probably,
who asks that?
The thermal levels, as they kept saying, rather than just saying it's getting hotter, the thermal levels are rising.
There you go. I digress.
That's probably right, Tom. I think science can confirm that. News moves fast. That same night, Clark and Chloe go to pay a visit to Smallville Medical. Lex tells them about the experiment gone wrong, but ensures that what he is doing is for the good of the world. He invites them to see the experiment, but Chloe is hesitant. As well she should be.
I have a question, because one of my favorite episodes is Transference that I was a part of with John Glover. And in this episode, you're playing, obviously, split personality of your character. What I did with Transference is I picked up 3 tics that it kept repeating. And in the next episode, you'll see that they did that with the hair, with the girl, the cheerleader girl, whatever. Do you remember doing something to kind of keep yourself on track between the 2 versions?
Yeah.
Or to indicate?
I gave him an arc, believe it or not. There was sort of as much of an arc as you can have, because you're supposed to be evil. But I wanted you, in the beginning, I didn't know if it was good Lex or bad Lex. And I wanted you to kind of stay with this is the bad one. No, wait, this is the good one. I give a look. And then there's a look, and then you're like, oh, okay. And once he starts to keep going, he spirals. Like he spirals pretty quickly and everything. So I did have an arc, and I did like, hey, this is the time you're going to be your biggest when you're with the Kents at the end. This is the biggest. You save that crescendo for the end. You're going to be subtle and like pervy with Lana, and it's going to be subtle, and she's going to smack you. And then you're like, oh, well, I guess I'm closing down the Talon. And just kind of just pick your moments, circle your moments of what you want to do, so it doesn't become just like, oh, it's a Lex show. So that's sort of what I did.
Did you keep the script from this one and like have all your notes in it? Did you take notes on this one or no?
I did take a lot of notes, but I don't think I have it.
Because I'd be curious to see like your like underlinings and highlights.
Yeah, my notes were like, on this one, go from, like I said, 0 to 100, where he's like, I am the like, things like that. Like, I want this moment, you turn on a dime. This moment, you go, you're lost in thought, like, I don't know, I could have done that. It's like, it's just picking those fun moments and playing them. And
all right, for me, when I have my script and I do my notes, or I have my sides and I have my notes, and somebody says, hey, can I see your sides for a second? I'm always like, why? Because you create your own language. You circle or you make descriptions, and they're not understood. And for other people to look at them, it's very vulnerable experience to show somebody your notes. Do you feel that way, or are you just like, here, check it out?
No one really asked. I didn't really think about that, but I do remember, this isn't what you're talking about, but like, I will say that the camera lens also helps for you to make certain decisions. Like, I might have thought of doing something a certain way, but they're like, we're going to do a really slammer jammer right on your face, close up, and it's like right on you. And so I am the villain of the story, something like that, where it's a low angle, that kind of feeds into the excitement when they're that close. You could be intense, but you have to bring it down a little bit. Like, it's not, you can't. Well,
you also, if they're that close, you actually have to understand you can't move all that much.
Yeah. So where I might be thinking, I am the villain of this, like something like that, when that camera's right there, you're like, it's just, you just lock your eyes on the target and you fucking shoot right through it. And it's like, you confine it, or just I don't know. Camera lenses, lenses they're using. I always ask. I say, hey, are you a 2T? Are you a real? How close are you? What lens are you on? Because it helps me as an actor know if they're wide, you could be a little bigger. That's the rule. Be a little bigger. If there are 2Ts, bring it down. Tight. Keep the intensity, but bring it out in a different way, because you don't want to become.
Yeah.
I mean, this is gonna be very interesting. I'm Tom, interject whenever. I'm fascinated already.
I got 10 more things to ask. But
fantastic.
Yeah.
Oh, great.
He bumps into Chloe on the way out and makes a couple quips about Sinclair being dead.
The other Lex heads to Luthor Corp with Clark to show him the new experiment they've been working on. Lex shares the full background of the experiment, creating radiated seeds for produce. However, the process creates rotten genes that makes the host worse. After Lex opens the kryptonite fridge, Clark claims to have food poisoning and leaves. And that evening at the Luthor Corp, Lionel pays a visit, having heard about the explosion. He starts to talk about the difficulties of an upcoming charity fundraiser. And Lex agrees to throw his dad a bone by making an appearance. If the event is held on the top floor of Luthor Corp Plaza, Lionel is surprised, but Lex says the generosity is rubbing off on him.
I couldn't tell in this scene which Lex this was.
I know.
I couldn't either. Yeah.
It's in a good way.
Good. That's what I wanted. I didn't want you to go, oh, bad Lex right away. That's boring. So play it more ambiguous. Play it more gentle, nice. I still have part of the real Lex's brain. I still know his thoughts. Like, I know how to manipulate. Like, let's play it real. And if you always are grounded and play the scene real, there'll be that moment that comes out that the audience will know. But don't feed it to them, because there's nothing that pisses me off more than feeding the audience what your emotion's going to be. Like,
Yeah, like if like Onyx Lex, I'll call him Bad Lex just to make it easier. If all of a sudden Bad Lex just like lit a cigarette every time he was in a scene,
Yeah. I want to do this, and I'm
you'd be
evil.
like, "What?"
He's just wearing a leather jacket.
No.
It's like kicking
Yeah.
jukeboxes.
Like
Yeah.
even when you read it, even when you read it, you find out like you're like, okay, which one is this? Which one is this? Oh, I see what this. Okay, so this is the moment. In one subtle look, the audience will know that I'm not good. That's it.
Well, there were
nothing else.
There were two things that I think would have been fun in this episode. One is when Bad Lex drinks Good Lex's whiskey or whatever it is, if he did not liked it for some reason.
Yeah.
You know, I've never liked this. I don't know why you drink this.
Well,
crap.
it's funny because I
And then
did
the
drink something, and I thought that was going to happen too. I thought that I did that, but I can't remember. Like I was like, oh, shitty whiskey, shisky.
I've been known to miss a couple moments here and there for sure. And the other thing I'll just say is, wouldn't it have been fun for Bad Lex to meet up with Red K. Clark? I think that would have been. Just
then
like
they would have ruled the world together.
After Lionel leaves, Lex is surprised by Bad Lex, who introduces himself as the real Slim Shady, and then pistol whips Lex, kidnaps him, and bounds him in a cellar. As Lex regains consciousness down in the cellar, Bad Lex starts telling memories of trauma from their youth. After this, Lex realizes that this clone is some sort of evil version spawned from the lab explosion, and essentially carrying all the selfish traits and desires that reside within himself.
In this scene, I was like, this is Lionel's Lex.
Yeah.
This is the Lex that Lionel wanted.
Yeah, and he even says that. He even says, I learned at the end.
But he still resents his father, which is crazy. The Bad Lex recounts a similar story of Louis XIV imprisoning his own twin, and then decides to carry it out in the present day by putting on some ancient mask to hide his identity.
You know what? I liked that it made sense of why he was keeping him alive. It made perfect sense because he didn't know if he kills that one, maybe it kills him.
Mm-hmm.
Almost like Siamese twins.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so I like that. It made sense to keep him alive. So that was cool.
And that mask is in this
That
room.
mask is in my room. I have it up there. I kept the mask.
Oh my gosh, you got to take a picture and post when this airs, because how'd you get it? What'd you do? Did you steal it? Did you ask for it?
They had
for it?
two
What'd you
of
do?
them, I believe, and after the episode was over, I just said, can I have it? And they gave it to me.
Oh, it's that easy.
Yeah,
Wow.
I guess it's that easy.
When
The next day at
when you're
Smallville
Lex
High,
Luthor.
Clark meets up with Chloe and the Torch to learn about Dr. Sinclair's passing. The two discuss the impossibility of talking to Lex at the same time, and Chloe's spidey senses start to go off about something paranormal happening. Over at the Talon, Bad Lex stops in to pay a visit to Lana. His excitement to see her gets killed when she begins to talk about Jason. So he goes on to tell her that she deserves better than goes creepy Lionel by rubbing her face and planning a kiss, to which Lana shoves him off and slaps him. In completely unrelated news, Lex tells Lana he is closing the Talon.
I think Kristen did a great job in this.
She did, because she
It'd
was like
be
a
so
little...
easy to just be like one note. Who are you? I don't know what you're doing. She really, I mean, she's a great actress, but you guys had a great scene here.
The only
That's what I'm saying.
thing I didn't like in that scene was something that I did, and they used it. I know I did a subtle one, but they wanted it to be like this, where I go after this kiss really hard, and I wanted to go in softly by slowly going in, and then she slaps me.
Yeah.
I didn't want to be so aggressive, and they used that, but that's the only thing. And it says second time this season, Lana has been groped by a Luthor and punched them afterwards. Lionel and transference. Second time in the series where Lex, under the influence, has threatened to close the Talon. What a jerk. Go ahead, Ryan. By the way, this scene was really good, and I even like the next scene with us better when I'm real Lex, and we'll talk about that when we get there. Go ahead.
Yeah,
I just maybe it's just me, and maybe it's the lens I look through, but so easily this scene could have been so bad.
So,
and I mean that, and I mean that as a compliment. And I think you guys understand what I'm talking about. I don't know if people seeing or hearing this do, but this seems like really good, and it has to be good. And you guys made it good. So compliments to the chef.
it only works with you two playing against each other in that. I think that's okay. So Bad Lex leaves the Talon to go do some fencing. After giving his partner a friendly good game ass slap.
I asked her, by the way, I said, is it okay if I smack you in the butt? Because I think this character would do that. She goes, sure. And that's how it happened.
Oh, great. I'm glad you talked about it before.
I didn't just smack her and didn't tell her.
Well, I'm glad you got consent.
Talkville is brought to you by our good friends at AG1. Yes, AG1. How many times do we have to tell you how amazing AG1 is and that we use it all the time? For us, it's the energy, it's the focus, it's life-changing. It really is. We've been doing this for the last few years, drinking AG1 every day, no exceptions. It's just one scoop mixed in with water once a day, every day, and it helps make me feel really, really good. I notice a substantial difference, and instead of taking tons of pills every day, this stuff's loaded with vitamins. This is, prebiotics, probiotics, all of it is right here in one glass that you just mix with some water and done. That's it. Start a healthy routine now with AG1. Tommy?
I mean, I love it. It tastes good. It feels good. It makes everything else feel good. As it works with your system, it's easy to say it's a good win.
Yes, I know. Look, we're getting essential brain support, gut and immune health, vitamins, probiotics, nutrients from whole foods. I like to think of it as a nutritional insurance. I know I'm covering my nutritional bases right from the start of every day. We take it in the morning. We take it when we travel. There's travel packs. It's all there for you. And change your routine, guys. Get it going with AG1. If there's a product I had to recommend to elevate your health, it is AG1, and that's why we've partnered with them for so long. So if you want to take ownership of your health, start with AG1. Try AG1 and get a free 1-year supply of vitamin D3 plus K2 and 5 free AG1 travel packs with your first purchase exclusively at drinkag1.com/talkville. That's drinkag1.com/talkville. Check it out.
He talks with his father condescendingly about why he decided to cancel the fundraiser entirely. Lionel tries telling him that he's changed, but Lex believes he's just becoming weak. So Lex challenges him to a match of fencing to try and summon the father he used to know. After giving his father a friendly cheek slash, Lex leaves.
This is good.
It was pretty damn cool because, in a way, Lex really wanted to see the true Lionel come out, and he did.
You still got it. You still got it, old man.
Right,
kind of thing.
Lex got him to show his true colors, which were inevitably going to come out anyway.
Can I ask you a question about this? Because I think we've talked about this scene before, maybe at panels, at cons or whatnot. But when you filmed this with John, did you guys kind of do all the dialogue and then separate the stunt thing so you could orchestrate it? Do you recall? Or
I think it was very visceral, and I had an agenda. And I remember not really, a lot of times I don't like, as much as I like to read a scene ahead of time, sometimes in the beginning, I like to go and just do it. Once we learned the fencing, I learned the beats, but then just sort of let it all go out, everything goes out the window. You just kind of just let it really fly. Lana heads to Kent Farm to talk with Clark about Lex's news. Lana thinks that maybe Lex is having another psychotic break. But Clark thinks it's something else. Mid-conversation, Lana relates the situation in her relationship with Clark and not truly knowing somebody until it's too late. I thought that was nice. Nice touch. It's always, it's that lingering Lana Clark thing. After getting surveillance confirmation from Chloe about Lex being in 2 places at once, Clark heads to Luthor Mansion to confront Lex and Lex. Clark tries questioning him on their convo the night prior, but because Bad Lex was lurking in the shadows, he's able to answer everything correctly.
This scene didn't track for me as a viewer. I was like, I don't know. It had to happen. I get it, but I just wasn't. I don't know.
Yeah, it's like, you'll know. You know me, Clark. I mean, it was fine.
It was too vague.
It was.
I know.
It was whatever. Once Bad Lex realizes that Chloe and Clark are onto him, he fawns fake concerns and urges them to meet him at Luthor Corp to contain the situation.
Chloe and Clark play right into his hand and follow Bad Lex to Luthor Corp. Lex takes a call to leave them alone, and we get another vague conversation between Chloe and Clark about trusting your friend with what's in your heart.
This is nitpicking. The cut is horrible. They literally go, "I'll see you there," and then we cut to them all walking in together.
It didn't bother me.
I feel like there was a scene.
I think.
All right.
I feel like there were a few times where the person who was, I don't know, I think things were cut out for time.
Sure.
Because there were plenty of times in this episode. Because I think
we're jarring.
It was just like, I thought we would see this person like in a couple scenes, not the immediate scene after.
Right.
This was one of those.
Well, you got to move the story. You got 42 minutes with all these
I think
ads.
scenes got cut. I think that's what it was. Yeah, that's me.
Yeah, I agree.
While they
I
search
think
the
so.
lab, Chloe finds a dead Luthor Corp security worker in a very, damn, who's that type of moment. As they inspect the
My
body.
God, if she could have just said that, that would have been
Funny.
amazing.
Who's that? And then Clark would have been like,
Somebody looks at the camera.
yeah.
As they inspect the body, Bad Lex drops some sort of concrete slab onto the high schoolers. Clark covers Chloe, protecting her from the fall. This is the third time in the series that Lex, not in his right mind, has witnessed Clark's powers. Also in Hug and Shattered.
I thought that was a good stunt. I thought it looked effective.
That was a great stunt. Clark and Chloe return home. She's skeptical of surviving being smushed, but thankful that Clark is always there when she needs him. Chloe leaves, and Clark heads into his barn. Lex is waiting in his loft, so Clark does the shortest super speed of all time and meets Lex upstairs. Clark asks for the real Lex Luthor to please stand up. Please stand up. Bad Lex admits that he is not the real Lex, but that the real one has wished death on all the meddling kids of Smallville. He flips the conversation back on Clark and questions his immortal powers.
He would have gotten away with it too.
One of the things that came to mind was, I can guarantee you there was a meeting in which because they have stunt meetings, they have visual effects meetings. I've been in those meetings, and they're very specific about what moments do what. And when Clark does that 5-foot super speed, I wonder if someone actually said, do we need the air blaster to make like the suit move?
Bring on the air
obviously not the hair
blaster.
move. Bring on the air blaster.
A lot of blasting.
A lot of back blasting.
How would you describe the effects of Smallville? Blasting.
Blasting. A lot of blast.
Clark tells Bad Lex that he intends to put a stop to him, but Lex turns around and invites him to join forces and together rule the world.
Join me, and the dark side will rule forever.
The conversation ends with Clark trying to apprehend Bad Lex, but Lex whipping out a kryptonite ring and revealing that he knows Clark's weakness, delivering a left hook that sends him flying.
No, I mean, I love that. And I think you should make like kryptonite rings for that. But it just occurred to me now that the actual black kryptonite doesn't bother Clark as he gets close to it. I just thought about this the second. I'm just
You're
catching
not
up.
wearing it, though.
It just occurred to me right now.
Jonathan and Martha hear the commotion, rush into their son's aid. Lex meets them and applauds their ability to keep Clark's secret for so long. I gotta hand it to you, man. I mean, that was just so fun to play, and watching them sit there, and I was just like watching Annette. I remember Annette was just like, oh my God, it's so good. And I was just like, hearing her say that, I remember just going, it just made my world.
You know, I got it a lot working with them in scenes, just the three of us, but they're the best partners in a scene. They're both different in their own way, but they're just so great to be in a scene with. They're just there for you. It's amazing.
Bad Lex shares his plans for world domination and then busts a cap in Jonathan. Now that was, to me, the funniest part of the show, where like something bad will happen like that.
It was pure evil.
And it was like, whoa, I can't believe he did that. He actually shot him. That was dope. Bad Lex shares his plans for world domination. Bad Lex then tells Jonathan he was right all along, that he is the villain of the story. This scene was magical. It was, I had no idea how it would turn out, but it had a slow build with Clark upstairs in the loft and like calming and this, and then kind of maniacal. And then he punches him and then he goes down and he just delivers, like this is his plan. Now,
do you remember how many takes that line took, the villain of the story?
I was just going to ask you that because I know, Michael, there were times where you helped me do this as well on in scenes where you would say, just say it again, keep it rolling, say it again, just keep saying it over and over. Did you do that in this circumstance?
100%. I gave one that was, you were right about me all along, Mr. Kent. I am the villain of the story. And then I go, keep it rolling. You were right about me all along, Mr. Kent. I am the villain of the story. Keep it going. And then I did one maniacal. I gave him like 3 or 4 versions because I go, listen, I'm going to give you choices, because if you just give the same delivery and it doesn't work, you're kind of left with that. Always give options to directors. And if they're good in the project, Yeah, I mean, I'm like, nope. Let me say it again. I'm going to give you stuff that you can use, and I gave one a big one. I gave one even bigger than that. I'm sure.
The only time that doesn't work is when they're dialing in on, or there's a big crane shot and it comes in.
Well, I'll
and
do
like,
that
keep it rolling.
where they land on me, and then I'll say it, and then I'll say, all right, take it back, guys. Go back, do it again. I'll fucking do it. I don't give a shit. Jonathan heads to his third home, Smallville Medical. There, Clark shares what's going on with Lex's evil twin and then decides to find the good Lex to save the day.
He super speeds to Luthor Mansion and uses his super hearing to hear Lex groaning from another room. Not sure what he's about to walk in on, Clark barges into the room. He finds the masked Lex and undoes all the binds to free him. Bad Lex is one step ahead and uses the kryptonite ring to start kicking Clark's ass. Before Bad Lex can impale Clark with a sword, Good Lex intervenes and starts going at it with his evil clone. Bad Lex takes the upper hand, however, and starts to cathartically yell at Good Lex for being weak and pathetic. Betterhelp.com/talkville.
You know what I liked? I liked that. The Betterhelp.com/talkville. I liked... even though I think the effects were mostly pretty good, there were a couple that were a little bit wonky, but I love the elbow. When he gives him the elbow. That was pretty dope. Before Bad Lex can continue kicking his own ass, Clark uses heat vision to heat up the kryptonite ring. This causes a similar chemical reaction like earlier where the meteor rocks turn purple, emits a burst of energy, and this time causes both Lexes to morph into one. I kind of bought it. I was like, okay, that's a...
Well, here's my question now, because there were two of you in the room. Is there a stand-in that you had during the entire series who was doing all the work?
Yes, Morris. Morris was my wonderful stand-in, and I believe he continues playing like me from the back of my head in episodes that after I left the show. But
I also, what I witnessed with Morris, and he's gone on to do even better things
he's so
now,
calm
is
and sweet.
I guarantee you, he memorized all. He was acting.
He did. He knew he was the best stand-in you could have.
He knew
his
all
lines.
his lines. He was there for Michael.
He was, man.
It's so helpful.
Yeah, I owe him a lot. And I was very thankful and appreciative of him. And I hope he's doing great, Morris. I hope you're awesome.
So he was like on both sides. So you would do one scene like yelling at him, and then you'd flip it around, and he would...
Sometimes I would have like a piece of tape on because they couldn't use him because they were using an effect, so I'd have to act to myself, act to like a piece of tape on a stand. Yeah, I had to do that a lot, I remember. But he was also there in other ways.
And I mean this in the best way. My photo double stand-in, Jason, was such a great dude, and we still talk every once in a while. He would do scenes. He would do the voice of Jor-El, and there were scenes where he would read lines, and we had this beautiful relationship where I couldn't look at him though. So when he would play the other actor, I go, can you just turn around? Because he would always be giggling as he was saying the lines in some way. And so we had a different relationship, but it was still wonderful, if that makes any sense.
I love it. Next day, Lex and Clark head back to Luthor Corp Testing Center. Lex observes the damage left by his evil twin's wake. Lex thanks Clark for saving him, but Clark is skeptical, A, of how much Lex remembered, and B, how bad Lex actually felt about Clark's friendship. I thought that was a really great moment. And it was a tender moment, and you're like, wait a minute, what does Lex actually remember? But you got to believe that he doesn't really remember a lot. Clark tells Lex he should go apologize to Lana. He heads to the town because Chloe filled her in on what happened. Lana is more receptive to the apology. Lex apologizes for threatening to close the town and gets in her pants. Now, after Lex leaves, Lana mutters that she's sorry too, but for what? I love this. When she says, I'm sorry too, with tears in her eyes, it makes you go, oh my God, she has feelings for Lex. That's what I felt immediately. I'm sorry too.
Yeah.
Come on. Why would she be so emotional? Why would she say, I'm sorry too? Because she's sorry that I think that was the beginning stages of something.
I saw, and I'm not saying you're wrong, what I saw in it is based on the last episode where she had to set up her own boyfriend and steal something to flush him out. And she's going down this road of flushing people out. And she's like, I saw your true colors and I'm sorry too.
Yeah. And also like, you were right about Jason and you're right about whatever. I agree. Lex heads home and is greeted by his father, who denies the apology and actually thanks Lex for giving him the wake-up call that he needed to fix the error in his ways and in turn close down his charity. Lionel says a man can't turn down his own nature. Once a Luthor, always a Luthor. You know what? The line was once a Luthor, always a Luthor, I think, right?
Mm-hmm.
But John said it twice, and they kept that. He goes, once a Luthor, always a Luthor. Once, or whatever, he doubled it. He said it twice, and I was like, I thought he was just doing 2 takes, but it was great. Lionel is back in his old outfit and done with the friendly therapist look here, which we're probably excited about. Closing thoughts. This is the 7th episode this season, 41% of them where we have they're not acting like them normal selves type storyline.
Yeah.
I liked it here. I think it really worked here.
I also like that in this one, there's an epilogue where he has to go on like an apology tour because because when you change your personality suddenly, there are consequences. You can't just skip to the next episode. I like when they do that.
Yeah, it's like when you're going to AA and you have to go kind of. Sometimes I think you have to apologize to people you might have hurt when you're drunk and doing stupid shit. Normally, we only see a reserved Lex. Interesting to see this side of the character. Interesting things of note.
Interesting things.
The title refers to black kryptonite, Onyx. This is the first time Lex wears a kryptonite ring. In the comics, Lex wears a kryptonite ring, and as a result, he loses his hand. The W promoted this episode as Lex versus Lex. Working titles for the episode were Lex's and Fissure. Fissure?
Fissure.
Fissure. What's fissure? Or
That
like
would've been good.
together apart, ripped apart.
Isn't that when you
Like fusion is together, fissure is separated.
nuclear fission?
It's like a crack in the wall.
Talkville is brought to you by Betterhelp. We talk about this all the time. The stigma is going away. It's important for us all to talk about our feelings, about our life with someone we can talk to, someone who's objective, who's a professional. So many people have done this. I've been doing this for a long time. It helps. Ryan here, well, you can't see him, but he uses BetterHelp. So many of my friends do, and it's just works for so many people. And we all carry around different stressors, big and small. And at times we keep carrying them around rather than processing them and letting them go. When we keep them bottled up, it can start to affect us negatively. Therapy is a safe space to get things off your chest and to figure out how to work through whatever's weighing you down. Therapy from BetterHelp is helpful for learning positive coping skills and how to set boundaries. It empowers you to be the best version of yourself. It isn't just for those who've experienced major trauma. I know a lot of people think that. It's not for just those people. It's for all of us. If you're thinking of starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online, designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule. You just fill out a brief questionnaire to get matched with a licensed therapist and switch therapists anytime for no additional charge.
Get it off your chest with BetterHelp. Visit betterhelp.com/talkville today and get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/talkville.
We've got a special guest. His name's Chase. I made Smallville say butts. He's a patron. I made Talkville say butts. I made Smallville say. I made what? What is it?
I made Talkville say butts.
I made Talkville say butts. Is that what it is? Anyway, he's our patron, top tier, and join patreon.com/Talkville, and you can be a guest as well. I made Talkville say butts is here.
I'm doing great, guys. How are you doing?
Chase.
I'm doing good. What do you want? Butts? Chase butts? What do you want?
I leave it up to you guys. I mean, I did it for the gag, but I also want to be genuine with, my heroes. So, whatever feels right.
Well, welcome, Chase Butts.
Thank you.
Listen, we appreciate you being here, and this is a new thing where we have patrons come on and kind of talk about the show and maybe the episode. Nice sign, Tom. You got that in Mexico?
Yeah, somebody gave this to me. I forget where, but I thought the first time we're going to see it, it lights up.
Dude,
sorry to interrupt, but look, it lights up. They said, should I make one for Michael? I said, no, absolutely not.
I like it. I don't like that you said that, but I like that.
Anyway.
Tell us, first of all, what drew you into Smallville? What was it about the show that kept you watching?
Sure. So when I was a kid, I always had this nebulous fascination with superheroes and things of that nature, but I never latched onto a specific one. And then I started watching Smallville when I was...
Sorry, real quick. Was it a comic book thing or was it a movie thing? Or both?
Just a general appreciation. Like I watched when I was a kid, I watched the Batman the animated series, which was really cool, and the Superman animated series as well. And I never really latched onto one in particular. I just enjoyed them. But then I started watching Smallville when I was a freshman in high school.
Perfect.
And yeah, so it aligned with where I was going. And at the time, like I was really into this cheerleader. So of course, the Lana Clark relationship really settled with me. So I had that aspect of it. Plus, that's where it all stopped. Obviously, that's all I had going for me in that respect. But
did you end up being the quarterback?
Oh heavens, no! I ran track.
You ran track.
You were like the guy. You were like the guguy in Greece. You were like running, watching them. Yeah.
Yes,
that's exactly right. So, but yeah, then after that, I mean, just like it was so great watching all these characters, and it was very formative to me at that age. Like everything from then on became about Superman for me, and I have you guys to thank for that because of your acts on the show. And I just like everything. Like my license plate says Superman. My dog's name is CK. I
noticed that like in the background, all you have is Superman. You don't have any Lex Luthor. So that's insulting, first of all.
So I knew that was going to actually come up, and I do apologize for that, Lex, but sorry. I do apologize for that, Michael, but your performance, especially as it relates to this one or Shattered, those really were highlights. I mean, you are often and rightfully so called the best Lex Luthor in media. And I think that is very fitting because you got to show the arc from morally gray, good to morally gray to just, world domination kind of thing through power for the sake of power.
Well, I thank the writers and my co-stars and all that for making my performance as good as it was perceived as. But thank you. So what was it about Onyx did you like the episode?
Yeah, I really did like the episode. And I think what was really enjoyable for me and why I wanted this one in particular was that it was able to explore the kind of the psyche of Lex and where he is in the series and to where he's going to be. And it was interesting to me. And I took a lot of notes, a lot like Michael P did when I was watching the episode. But like in this particular episode where you went full evil, you became kind of the Lex world domination for the sake of power and world domination. And which was kind of a Smallville bend to it's kind of a classic when Lex was more of a mad scientist, whereas to now he's kind of the billionaire, which is your sect on things. And now it's more of he wants to do good by his own perception of good. It's a very Machiavellian perception of good, and he'll do it by any means. But the only thing in his way is this alien from another planet doing all these good deeds. So he can't be recognized for his brilliance and everything that he can do. And so I really wanted to see what take you all took on that. I mean, it has been many years since I've seen this particular episode, but and I really liked it. And I like you did an awesome job. And I actually wanted to ask you, Mike, if it's okay. Like you had to go from kind of exploring that arc into the descent into villainy throughout the series, but in this episode you had to go straight into evil. So what headspace did you have to get into, or what inspired
his character at this point in the series is still trying to do good, still trying to do the right thing. He's bombarded by all these people around him that say you're like your father, or you're like this, and you're innately bad. But what I wanted to sort of accentuate was when they split, you still have the good Lex, but then you have that thing that people have in the back of their head. Like there's bad in everybody. There's those impulses, those things that most normal people don't, show.
It's that quote from Jeremy Irons where he says, everyone's like a piano and we all have different keys. And it's just about tapping into those keys sometimes. And I also think to follow up to this, not to interrupt too much, but was it helpful in the role knowing that there was another Lex still out there? Like when you divide, the other one's out there. So you always have that in your mind, as opposed if you just switched into a different Lex. That would not have been as fun, I don't think. I don't know if that landed on you at the time. It was just
more like, how do you... Look, you can't have the same Lex and the same sort of mentality fighting each other. It just doesn't work. And this was a fun way to explore the deepest, darkest depths that Lex will go to. And sort of, it's like that, that's sort of like, hey, this guy's weak. It's that part of the brain. It's almost like it's split in half of like what his darkest thoughts were mixed in with, he didn't have a filter, so to speak. And all the things that he wanted, like Lana and power and all those things that he does think about and that he probably goes to therapy about and that he does contemplate all the time. I think that side came out and it was fun. And I really love Terrence O'Hara, who directed it. He just allowed me he goes, we're going to protect you here. So
he was so grounding too.
Yeah.
He will protect you. He was like your baseball coach. He was grounding, but he also got in there with you. You know what sort of like, not you specifically, but he would get in there with you emotionally but protect you. Like we can do this. I
thought it'd be fun to see this side that we'll never see until the very end. That if we could show a glimpse of what this could be at the worst, that's fun. And the dichotomy of the good and the bad. And also, like, I wanted to go, I knew that they were protecting me. And I said, listen, guys, I even called Alan Miles, I believe, and said, hey, I'm going to go over the top. I'm going to go big. I'm going to be funny. I'm going to be sarcastic. I'm going to be evil. I'm going to be all these things, impulsive. And I'm going to give you a lot of things. And you could, whatever works. So there are some takes where it was half of that. Or they chose, and I like it because it was an arc. You saw him get progressively bad till he's in the barn with his parents. So it was cool. But
because you had two lines that I think stood out to me in like different evilness ways. So there's a line you delivered, which was my favorite line of the show because it was so funny. You say, he's thought about it, just kind of like this manic. I've thought about killing everybody. And I was like, whoa, that's kind of wild-eyed, Lex. But then you go to that quote when you're about to strike down Clark. This was a quote from alluded to Dark Knight Returns when Batman is about to kill Superwell. He beats him in a fight. So essentially, and he says, essentially what you said, but you said it in a very dramatic, I'm evil, kind of Vincent Price way. And so you went all over the map with it, but I loved it because it's just, you're exploring your Freudian id, and just those are your basest instincts and desires.
Yeah. I like just going it was fun to just go from 0 to 100 sometimes, where it's like, I am the real way, like just losing your shit for a second was fun.
Yeah.
And it was like, I wanted to have those moments where he's calm and he's like calculating. And then he's like, would you shut the fuck up?
Yes.
It was a great time. It made me think of why I wanted to act in the first place. It gave me just somewhere to go.
Something to do.
Every day it was just fun to play this character, and you always hope that it would come out the way you wanted it to. And when I saw the show, I was like, this is better than I ever thought it would come out. I thought the whole show was fun, and I wish we could have explored a little bit of that more in more subtle degrees. But anyway, well, thanks. What's your favorite episode of all time?
So I actually, I just listened to the one this morning, Recruit, and she said, Kristen said that Homecoming was a good episode. And I really enjoyed that episode as well. I think for the general, just the everything full circle, showing that Clark, despite all of his, putting the world on his shoulders, he's done good by a lot of people. But probably my favorite, just for looking back on it now, is Justice from season 6, where they bring the team together for the first time, basically, and it's just kind of like this action-packed episode. And I'm sure
I think I directed one of those, and I got to tell you, those Hawkman wings were such a pain in the ass. I mean, just physically.
Try wearing them.
They made them practice. He was actually wearing them, and God bless the actor because he's such a great dude. But like, it was like they put the wings on him, and they were like, "Okay, let's go to set." And they're like, oh, we can't get to set with these wings on. It was, anyway,
So that's absolute justice, the one you're talking about. I was talking about the one where you bring in Flash, Aquaman, Cyborg, and Green Arrow, and they have this big scene where they're walking away from the explosion in that kind of
superhero way,
Mighty Ducks V shape there, where you're in the front, of course, and it was just like, it's iconic for me. It was beautiful.
Hey, Chase, before we let you go, I want to just ask you, I want you to ask Ryan something, because Ryan's watching the series for the first time. What would you tell Ryan? What would you tell Ryan? Well, first, if you want to ask him something, but if you'd rather just tell him what he can expect in the next X amount of seasons, and what your thoughts on that are.
Okay, so two things, Ryan. I totally, every time you say that you have kind of like that empath thing, like when those episodes where Clark has red K, it's kind of like for watching the Scott's Tots episode for me. It's just like, I just can't. It makes me so uncomfortable. But I totally get that. And there's only a few more of those, so don't worry. But I think just like the quicker you can like, and I know this is just my route, is when I was watching the show, I would go to the Kryptonsite every time. This is where I learned like spoilers were a thing, because I was invested. So like every time you can like kind of look into the history of it, like you guys were talking about Mitzi Pitlick, and it's a really fascinating character, which I think Ryan was talking about as he was Googling it during the show. So it's like, the more invested you get with what this means to the lore of Superman, it really makes it for a really fun watch, because I didn't know all this going into it. Now that I do, I'm like, oh my God, that's from, and my wife tells me to shut up, but I have to tell her this bit of trivia that literally no one should know. I had to push out some of my geometry lessons from 10th grade, but this is what I find enjoyable and fascinating. So yeah, that's how I get a lot out of it now.
Kryptonsite was ahead of its time.
Yes,
absolutely.
It really
and
was.
Craig at Kryptonsite give you so many props. You're such a wonderful human being, and you deserve so much more credit. And we really appreciate the cast.
Can I hear you say I made Smallville? I made Talkville
Chase,
say
I was
butts.
going to ask that.
Oh, sure. Oh. I made Talkville say butts.
I love it. That was wonderful. Thanks, Chase, for being here. Time for the hotline, folks. Talkville. You've been waiting for this. We've got it for you. Here we go. Patron privilege, Ken the Limerick Guy. We love our Ken.
Hi guys, Ken the Limerick Guy here. Michael, in the episode Onyx, I'm wondering what it was like when you were filming two Lexes in the same scene. How much of that was done with body doubles or stunt doubles? How much of it was you playing both roles in split screen?
We talked about that. I mean, a lot of it was me talking to a piece of tape so they could do the effect, sometimes over the shoulder.
Who was saying the dialogue when you were talking to tape? I only ask because sometimes you have the script supervisor.
Morris would stand off and say the dialogue.
Hi, this is Brian. I actually recently met Tom and Michael at Smallville Nights in Boston and Rhode Island. I'm calling with a question about the Season 4 episode Onyx. This question is for Michael. Michael, ever since taking over Luthor Corp at the beginning of Season 4, I think we've seen Lex slowly but surely descend into a little bit of villainy. But in Onyx, you have the chance to really jump forward into a full-blown villain. Was that hard? Was it hard to take what had previously been real subtle villainy on Lex's part and jump forward into this full-blown, clear-cut villain? Thanks so much. Really love the show.
Thanks, Brian. It was easy for me. Like I said, that side of me, that sort of dynamic, that larger than life character, I've been dying to do something like that. Playing Lex so multi-layered and even keeled in a lot of ways. It's sort of complex because everything's sort of, do you have an agenda? Is it, every meaning is, what is it? Keeping things ambiguous. With this, I just had to find some small subtleties and, like we talked about earlier, like an arc, but to let go and just be this guy was empowering and fun.
I would assume that every scene that you ever had up until this point, you didn't play it that way.
Yes.
So it's always been in you. It's always been in you as a performer, as an actor. So now he finally gets out.
Yeah.
And it's so cool that even I made Talkville say butts, our guest that we had today, he made an interesting point that good Lex doing all these experiments and sort of waiting for other things to change the world. He wanted to be a part of it. Bad Lex come out, takes it into his own hands.
Yeah.
And that's always been under the surface. And we finally could see it, which is why this episode is won, at least 2 bombs.
Yeah. And it was funny because I think about it, if I ever played him in a movie, it's like you combine those two and use some of those moments throughout to build and build power, because Lex is, he doesn't have to show that power, but when he does, it's electric. And again, that's always something that's been easy for me to tap into. My dad had one of those, when he got mad, his voice and it just scared the shit out of me. And I could just, I don't know, it just kind of stuck with me. So I channel that for sure. Here's Charlie from North Carolina. Charlie, what do you got for us, Chuck?
Hello there, it's Charlie Thomas. Michael, this is some of your best work ever. 3 roses, better be. Tom, you rock as always. My question, however, is for Ryan. After watching this episode, are you starting to get a little bit scared of Michael, that he could quite possibly break off into becoming an evil boss? Anyways, thanks, guys.
Ryan,
I'm a little afraid now.
Are you afraid of me?
That's in you. It's been in you the whole time.
It's just not something that I let out.
Honestly, I was relieved to see that acting come from you a little bit.
Why is that?
Because it looked like it was authentic to you and what you wanted to accomplish with the character.
We saw your core.
Thank you.
It looked like you've been similar to Lex, the character. You yourself, the actor, had been waiting to do this, and it was awesome.
Thanks, dude. Well,
it is also so counter to the person I know you to be.
I know. What's funny is I think when an episode like this comes up, you put your big boy pants on and you say, this is my time to shine. This is my time to actually show everyone what I can do. And I felt like that. I remember thinking that, like, I'm going to show the WB and the creators and the crew and the cast members and the world that I have the ability to do anything. And I had that confidence. And yeah, so I just...
Is there kind of a hangover to it? I haven't thought about that until what Ryan was saying. Like the next episode, are you like thankful that you're just back to normal? Or are you like, oh, I wish that carried on?
I think I thought, this is... I like sprinkling these things in throughout, but this was an episode. It was exhausting. I worked all 10 days. I was in most of the scenes.
I'm sorry.
I know what Tom felt like, but those were long days. Remember, I'm shaving my head 2 hours before, so those days were 15-hour days, and I was exhausted. So the next episode, it was a little bit a relief. It was a relief for it, but I still loved it.
Can I ask a quick question, because you said something I thought was really nice when we were doing it, is the experience of looking at a net and a net giving you like, this is really good, Michael, like go with it.
Yeah,
like that encouragement.
Like maternal.
And I just thought for a second, like I kind of felt that way with Glenn a lot of times, because Glenn was there so often.
Yeah.
And if he was sort of, or JD, when those guys were like, dude, you keep it going. It was like, thank you. Like you want that.
When those guys, when those crew guys who are there with you every day give you a thumbs up, or like, hey man, that was great stuff. When they look at you and they I remember Beaker.
It means everything.
Beaker, Chris. I called him Beaker because he looked like Beaker from the Muppets. And I remember some takes. I don't remember the takes, but I remember him looking at me after he's looking through the camera, looks up and he goes,
yeah.
Like, hey, without saying too much, just the nod. That was all I needed.
Yeah.
You go,
really helps. Really helps, because you're especially in these types of roles, you're making yourself very vulnerable, and you're saying, like you said, hey guys, I'm going to give you all this stuff, direct me and take what you want from it, but I'm just going to give it.
I think that's the best note I can give, is just give people options. Joshua.
Hi, this is Joshua Hernandez calling from Florida. That episode was incredible. Did you wish that this episode would have been stretched out to be like the whole central conflict for a season? How do you think it would have been seeing these two battle it out in a series of episodes?
I think that's a great idea. I think that for this show, it should have been like the finale. I would have loved to seen Lex like this in the series finale. Like, this kind of like an essence of that, of like, no, you lied to me. you had that, like let him be a little unhinged to see that, like that's the arc. And we didn't get to see it.
And then cut to summer break and you can't see the show for like 3 months and you're like,
well,
what's
no, I mean,
happen?
series finale. Like,
oh,
yeah. Kyle?
Hey, Tom, Rosie, and Ryan. This is Kyle from Valdez, Alaska. We get confirmation of Lex's true feelings for Lana. When this season originally aired, I remember wondering if we would get a Lex and Lois love story instead, since it would be more age appropriate, and in some of the comics, Lex Luthor and Lois Lane have romantic history together. I was wondering if this was ever considered, and if you guys think it would have played better than the creepy Lex and Lana love story we ended up with. Thanks, have fun shitting on the show.
Thanks. Have fun shitting on the show, he said. You know what?
Didn't we just do an episode where Lex is like, ladies, and he kind of like steps in between? Like Lois has no patience for Lex at all.
Yeah,
I don't think there's
I don't know
anything.
if that would have worked, but to defend Lex, I mean, she's 18. She's a senior in high school. Yes, she's young, but he's not that old. He's like 20. It's supposed to be like 25 and 24 in this show. 24 and an 18-year-old isn't the end of the world, So it wasn't that creepy, but it's a little creepy that, it's his best friend's girl. So when that starts to happen, that's what's kind of weird. But sometimes I guess love gets in the way. I've never had that experience. I always pick friends over anything. I would never let that get in the way. I once had a friend who went to the bathroom and his girlfriend came up to me at a party and she was drunk and she goes, you would F me. And I go, you crossed the line. You've gone over the line. He's, whatever. And I just stopped it right there. But then I thought, is she going to tell him that I did it? Like, I was like,
right.
How do you I was hoping that she wasn't that maniacal, but anyway.
Well, what happened? No,
nothing really happened. They broke up. Thank God.
Well, duh.
Hey, this is Daniel in Orlando, Florida. Just wanted to know if you guys had any kind of memory of the fight scene with Lex and Clark. Thought it was just an amazing depiction of Clark and Lex and what you kind of start to see in the comic books and just that dynamic. If you guys had any kind of memory of like feeling like, wow, we're really, enjoying kind of like, I guess, magnitude, of the relationship between Lex and Clark.
Yeah. I remember that scene sort of when I'm hitting you. I didn't think it was that crazy of a fight, but I remember it, and it was fun. It was fun. It was fun to have Lex and Clark kind of go at it because you never see that, so it was cool.
I also think it's a weird way of being in the scene. You realize that your character is not talking to Lex Luthor; he's talking to a different version. So he's, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
you're not experiencing like, oh, this is the future of this relationship. This is a moment in this conflict. So it's a great question, but I think you got to break it down when you're in the scene, the difference between the two.
Yeah, I agree.
Hey guys, it's Caroline from Springfield, Missouri. And I was just wondering if Michael really did have to put on the iron mask, because I know that would have been awful.
I
did. He
really
had to wear it. But I mean, I know somebody did, but if Michael did, thanks.
I
Bye.
did. It was not comfortable. They made it as comfortable as they could. They put some padding on it, but I wanted to get out of it as soon as possible. I did not love it.
Was it a breakaway? Like if for some reason you just had to get it off, would it come off?
Yeah.
Was it literally?
It was easy to get off. The guys did a great job. But I will say this. The scene where I walk away as bad Lex and leave good Lex with the mask on, that's Morris acting and I directed him. Like Terrence said, direct him on how you would do it. And I showed him what I would do. My movements, that's Morris's body, and that's me doing ADR with the screams and stuff.
I was going to say Lex was a lot more in shape in that shot.
How dare you, sir? How dare you?
Hey, this is Zach from Austin, Texas. In this episode, Lex splits and he talks to himself and he references The Man in the Iron Mask, classic story. I was just wondering what some of y'all's favorite classic literature works are. Some of your favorite stories, books, whatever they are. Thanks. Bye.
Titus Andronicus.
The Count of Monte Cristo is a fan favorite. I love that one. I love the movie too.
I love Tennessee Williams stuff. I love Shakespeare. I love.
You like you're old fan of the Cat on a Hot Tin Roof?
Yeah, it's a wonderful play. All right, here's the last question from our lovely Sophie L. Was Lex's look and smile at the end of the episode after Lionel said, "We're Luthor's your idea," or was it written that way? I don't remember smiling. Did I smile?
Yeah, there's
You're doing something with your face.
There's a little bit of a takeaway is, did the bad Lex, is it possible the bad Lex replaced the good Lex? And that's what we're left with. There's a hint of that. And it's great.
I mean, it wasn't a full-fledged smile. It was kind of a half.
No, it was a,
okay.
It's a twinkle.
I try to do that every once in a while. But you know what's funny is I remember in the opening scene when they split, Ryan, and you see the bad Lex for the first time, Terrence wanted me to smile. And I said, I'm not smiling. That's just too cheesy. It's too cheesy.
He wanted to indicate.
I didn't want to indicate anything. He just is more in disbelief. There's no smiling. And Terrence goes, okay, I buy it. And we let it go. Because think about it. Right before the credits hit, somebody saved me. If I'm like, it's like already, it's like you're showing your card, man. Stop. Don't do it. That's cheap. Rosenbaum rating systems, Ryan.
And now,
God,
Rosenbaum rating.
I'm gonna do it 2.5. Tom.
3.
Yeah.
Solid.
I'm gonna go with a 3. I really enjoyed it, and I was gonna go 2, but but Tom is, after talking about it, I feel like it was just it was a really fun thing that I didn't get to do, and it paid off. And I'm gonna give it a 3 Rose.
Can I go 3 now?
Also,
Ryan's going 3 roses.
I'm going to go 3 now. I don't want to be.
You're upgrading.
Because now I feel like an asshole.
think the 3.
No, I don't think like an asshole. You can do whatever you want. 2.5 roses is great. Keep your 2.5 roses. You want to keep it?
This is one of those episodes where if you've never seen Smallville and I show you this episode, you'd be like, my wife even. I was watching it and Jessica came in, and I was like, oh, it's so funny because Michael told. You texted me that you're really good in this episode, and we were kind of going back and forth.
I go, wow, I'm really good in this episode.
Yeah, and she kind of walked in and she was watching for a couple scenes and she was like, it is good. It's really good. And then she walked away. But yeah.
Death and save count, 2 dead. Dr. St. Clair, Luthor Corp worker. Clark saved Chloe. Good Lex saves Clark. Through 17 episodes, 12 dead, 35 saved. Series 104 dead, 138 saved. Ryan's favorite scene. This is tough. This was
tough. But
this is tough for Ryan.
There's one clear answer though.
Don't hint at it, you son of a gun.
What if Ryan, how about this time Ryan says one favorite scene he likes and then we decide if it's right or not?
No, I want to hear the 3. Can I guess the 3 scenes?
Yeah.
I think one of them is the scene with Lionel Luthor where I cut his face.
It's not.
Okay. One of them is, I know what it is, by the way, but go ahead. One of them is the farm scene, but go ahead.
All right, scene 1 is the Iron Mask, putting it on. Scene 2 is I am the villain of the story. And scene 3 is Lex morphing back in, the ending.
Tom, what do you say?
Interesting choice for number 3, but I have to choose number 2.
Me too. I am the villain of the story.
It's okay.
Ryan?
It's number 2.
Yeah, you can't. You can't.
3 was a filler.
Yeah, you can't.
It was a good scene, but I was like, once that scene happened, I was like, this is the one. And also, like, I don't remember, like, someone at some point had referenced, because I hadn't watched Smallville for so long, and I just known Michael as the human being, and then someone had referenced the I am the villain of the story scene. So I was like, all right, I'm gonna go ahead and YouTube that, and I just couldn't believe the dichotomy between
me and
Michael in his home and that scene.
Yeah,
was
just
like
the same guy who farted during this recording.
Yeah, I know. Well, that's the sign of a good actor, folks. Someone who can act goofy. And look, I'm grateful. I appreciate all the nice comments. I was, you just never know. You never know if people are going to like what you do, and you do it and you hope that it's successful. And it was a cool thing. It was a cool thing. I think that about wraps it up. That's it for the episode. Stick around next week as we add some pep to our step and talk about season 4, episode 18, Spirit. Take the discussion online. Let us know your thoughts on the episode over on our socials at Talkville Podcast.
So
Pod.
just sorry, real quick. What I love about the next episode is Jonathan Kent has a bad 2 episodes.
He certainly does. He certainly does.
So
he shows up to
that.
get the shit beat out of him. Join patreon.com/Talkville. to support this podcast so we could keep it going. We need you. Without you, it's nothing. And join. And if you're a top tier, you get potentially to be on the show. And we have all the information you need and the hotline number. All that's on socials. Remember, go to my Instagram on the link tree for all the cons and the live podcasts and cameos and wherever Tom and I will be. talkvillepodcast.com store, Inside You online store for Leximus scripts and other stuff. I should get an Onyx script and put that on the online store. I think I should.
You should Onyx ring.
And remember, folks, always hold on to Smallville.
Can't forget our patron shout outs. We love you guys. And patreon.com/talkville. Thanks for supporting us. Leanne P, Raj C, Santiago M, Little Lisa, Thomas, Tom Turner, Shane W, Sophie M, Betsy D, Abby P, Raya H, Karen Apple M, 99 more, Lalani N, Brett G, always hold on to Smallville, Estevan G, Garrett W, Bob K, Kimberly L, Tom N, Jason W, Osama A, Glenda P, Lana Rhymes with Banana, W, Nancy D, Brian G, Sarah W, YVR Grips, Anna M, Amanda R, Teddy127, Michael P, Ryan R, Jordan M, Randy B, Craig G, Jarrell, Heather and Greg, I made Talkville say butts, Brian H, Eric K, Kristen B, Nanine W, Stephanie K, Darth Achilles, Finky, Early is on Time, Miss Charles Kent, damn, who's that? Jeanette B, or Jeanette E, Deadvid, General Zod, Theodore, Nathan B, Jammin J, Doug R, Carlos C, Tommy Z, Boston 68, Kendall Limerick Guy, Corey L, Mr. Home Arcade, Jesse C, Claire M, D Brown, Karen Era M.
Wow, well done. Jules M, Eldon Supremo, Leslie V, Mick Burtz, Ginger Moose. Please remember Janice from North Carolina.
Hi.
NC, Christoph S, Michelle M, Drew, Amanda Lynn, Jessica B, Michael Kine doesn't blink, Sebastian F, Wolfie, Dak Flando.
Yeah.
Dak Flando, Steven, the grocery checker, my neighbor, Matthew and Lincoln B, Breyer, Charlene A, The Coopers, Marion Louise L, CGO, Cindy C, Shannon Fofanin, Tina A, Matrick, Jen T, thank you for being on the show later, couple episodes, Randy S, Cassie B, Brad A, Felicia R, Danny Mo Mirabel. That's Mirabel. No, that's a fun one. JS, Mary K, Rachel D, Stephen and Nate Danger, When You're Rich, You Aren't Crazy or Eccentric, Rosenbaum fan Sammy Sherman, Carrie Ann, Patrick R, The Alexander Castle, Daryl E, Charlene A, Spicy Chicken, one of my favorites, Jenny B, Anna B, Monica T, Jeffrey K, Pink Kenobi, and Katya C.
Previously on Smallville, Matt C, Depro Sajal, and Devin, Chadwick B, Keith B, Sharu, Major Paradox, the Patreon Saint of Smallville, Libertariat, Christy H, Biagio C, Cal-L 38, Felicia B, Lady J, Mignon A, The Salty Ham, Murphy C, David L, Madison H, Mika J, Mooncloak, Tori H, and Paul the Grim G. We love you, and we'll see you next week.